Right, guys, hello. So, welcome to part two of understanding EmuVR and the light gun support. So, my apologies. I know part one was kind of boring. There was a lot of reading for you to do, there was a lot of talking for me to do, but it's necessary evil to get it set up so we could get to the fun stuff. We're now in the room, we can enjoy the software. So, we'll start with some pretty basic stuff to help the new guys out, and we will demo some games a little bit later. So, if you want to see the gameplay, skip ahead. I don't blame you. So I've got Rift S headset on. Those of you who are wondering, you can use other virtual reality headsets. You don't even have to have a virtual reality headset. You can do this on a 2D monitor, just so you're aware. I've got my touch controllers in my hand. My left hand, I'm just going to push that settings button to bring up the menu. We will start at the beginning because that just makes sense. So we have the objects tab, all of these items that we can grab, pull into the world and populate it and place where we want them, which is kind of cool. So works a little bit like Oculus Home. Those of you that have a Rift S headset should be familiar with that. So to my understanding, the more we have in the room, the more items, the more games, the quality of the game labels, it eats into the VRAM, the memory that the graphics card has. Now, I judge no one on what they own. We make the best of what we've got. As long as we're having fun, that's all that matters. So you might have a 1650 Super that only has 4 gig of VRAM. You should realize if you're playing other games like Asgard's Wrath or Stormlands, you are limited to medium graphic settings. I've got 6 gig of VRAM. I can do high graphic settings. Someone might have a 2070. They've got 8 gig of VRAM. Yeah, they've got better settings. Then you've got 1080 Ti's that have like 11 gig of VRAM. So we work with what we've got. As long as we're having fun, that's all that really matters. Just be sensible to what you own. We've got the screens tab. So many TVs, many styles, many sizes. Pick what you like. We can grab them, put them in the room, locate them where you like. We're going to hook the systems up to it. So the systems is the next tab. We ran the game scanner. We'd set up our game folders. We'd put the games in there. It populated a playlist. And as it did that, each of these systems then became available. So it's important for you to realize I have really focused on light gun games. This is not every system that can be done. I've shown N64 off because it has a 3D model. PlayStation has a 3D model, so does the SNES. There will be more models in time. I think the developer's quite fussy about that, which is a good thing. There's lots of nice little touches we'll show on the PlayStation in a bit. So I'm happy to wait because the quality is so good. Good things come to those who wait. So we can grab these systems, bring them into the world, put them where we want them. Below the systems, we can think of these as the game drawers. So I'll just show PlayStation. I've done the labels so you guys can see how great it can look. I know the question I'm going to get now, people saying, I've done what you said, Hono. I went into the custom folder. I went into labels. I created a PlayStation Guncon folder. I did a PlayStation Justifier folder. I've put these CD labels as image files into the folders. They aren't showing in EmuVR. Well, what you've probably done is what I've done. All of your games are bin and queue, and each game has its game folder. If you've done that, you need to do that for every single image file as well, which sounds like a chore, but there is an easy way to do this. So there's software called Files to Folder, absolutely free. Install that. Go to your EmuVR folder, go custom labels. So within PlayStation Guncon, highlight all of those images, which must be named after the game, after its queue file. Right click, so it's covered all of them, files to folder, and use that software, and it will do the hard work for you. It will make a folder for every single file, name it after that file, and put the file in each of those folders. It takes seconds. Really, really convenient. So what we really want to see is how good it looks, but also point out Time Crisis is a Guncon game. Project Horned Owl is a Justifier game. Although they are in different folders, they still show as PlayStation games. So there are no different categories. It's very convenient. If I'd have done a third folder for the normal games, we would see Metal Gear Solid, Tomb Raider, and they would be the normal games that use a gamepad. Everything under one roof, really. Very convenient. So both of those games are out on display. We're going to demo them in a little bit. Let's get on and cover the options. So we've got settings. It is really self-explanatory, but let's cover it anyway. Real-time clock. I do think it has a slight performance hit, but yeah, it's kind of cool. There is the clock over there. I'm doing this at night, so it's dark outside. Had I done it in the morning, it would be light outside. Or you can adjust the clock yourself if you always want it to be nighttime. We've got settings for graphics. We can hide the baseboard. That's what is between the floor and the wall. We've got smooth locomotion. If that makes you dizzy, use teleport. We don't want people being sick or falling over. Snap rotation, how many degrees when we move the thumbstick. So that's 45, 45. We can have it 90, whatever suits you. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. What we want to cover is the light guns tab, because this is pretty new. I don't remember this being in the last version. So gun alignment offset. We can do this up or down. What's this all about? Well, what people were finding was when they were holding a gun, they'd have to tilt their arms sort of up or down, or move their wrist to be able to look down the sight naturally, which is bad. It's uncomfortable and you're going to hurt yourself. So we now have this offset. We can tilt the gun up or down, so we can just have a natural view of the sights. So that seems to work for me. I might need to tweak a little bit more. My touch controllers, I've gone down 18, but yeah, I might change it. We'll see. Grip button action when pressing the grip button, or I can change it to when releasing the grip button and what it does. So we can do spin gun. It's called gunslinger mode. I think I've kept it on that, but we could have it as auxiliary A. And then the example it gives is simulating the foot pedal for time crisis. So you do what suits you. I've got point up action. I've set it to do reload, shoot off screen. Made sense to me. And to point down. So I don't actually have to shoot off screen. Some games use that mechanic. I just point at the ceiling. That's it. Reloads. Point at the floor. Reloads. Don't have to pull the trigger at all. It's pretty convenient. Haptic feedback. I don't really want to call it recoil, but that's really what it is, I suppose. Every time we pull the trigger, we get some kind of feedback that we've done so. So it's a bit anemic. That's not the developer's fault. He can only work off what the controllers do. In fairness, the USB aim track light guns that did recoil, that was pretty anemic as well. You'd hear people spend crazy money to get hold of Namco guns or the Namco actuators to get a really violent kick from the gun, a recoil. So anything is better than nothing, really. So we don't fault the developer for that. We've got the one-handed option. I've enabled that because there is no two-player in light guns at the moment, so I might as well just have the one gun. So push the settings button again. We'll get rid of the options. We'll just show off some games. So on this shelf, these are main games. Avoid these if you are new. It gets complicated very quickly, but I just want to show we have the arcade console and we do have the cables. We must hook up from the TV to the console. So on this particular TV, the RCA ports are at the front. Some TVs, they're at the back. But just so you know, and then we can unplug it from the back of that console and put it into one of the other ones if we want to swap it over. So we've got Time Crisis there. That's the main version. Lots of cool games. Some are quite difficult to set up. Some don't run particularly well. But luckily, many of them did get ported onto home consoles. So Time Crisis is on the PlayStation. House of the Dead 2 doesn't run particularly well. But if we do it on the Dreamcast, it does. So yay. Let's walk over to our PlayStation. We're going to show you how to focus on the games, how to play them. The first thing I'm going to do, I think, is turn the light off. So I'm going to pull the trigger and then press A at the same time. Although there is a light switch over there to flick as well. So I want to focus. I've turned the PlayStation on. I want to focus on it. So I'm going to pull the trigger, A at the same time. Now we see I've got the light gun. So just do the calibration. So yeah, well, I could stop it now. We just proved the gun works. But let's see a little bit of Time Crisis anyway. We don't need to see all the cinematics, but we will play a little bit of it. So the reason I want to demo the PlayStation, for those who didn't watch the first video, is lots of people getting confused. They were like, oh, I can play Time Crisis, but I try to play another game and the gun doesn't work. And the reason for that is the games used different guns. and I have different device codes. So go back, watch the first video I did so you can set these games up properly.
This nation.
So I've got lots of good memories about this game. I enjoyed it in the arcade. I remember buying it for my girlfriend's brother many, many moons ago as a Christmas present. So all the naff presents he got off the rest of the family, I got legendary status as soon as he opened up my present, and he had a Guncon and Time Crisis. We didn't see him the rest of the day. He did eventually let me have a go. But for me, it's an arcade game. We had a foot pedal with press to come out of cover. The PlayStation version, you pushed a button on the gun, and that's what we're going to do here. We press the A button to come out of cover, let go, and that puts us in cover and we reload. So I don't want to get too carried away. It's always a temptation to enjoy the game. So just going to open the console up. We shouldn't really do that on the real consoles, but you saw that the disc was still spinning. Really nice little touch. I love what the developer's doing. So let's try out a Justifier game. Now just make sure that we get a nice little click. That disc is seated properly. I can even bring the lid down, power it on. So we might get a little bit of stutter just while it loads. There we go. So let's turn out the light. So again, I'm going to bring it into focus. So pull the trigger, press A at the same time. Now I'm seeing a Nintendo or a Pretendo zapper. I feel a little bit dirty. I'm a Sega boy. I don't really like Nintendo. But we don't fault the developer for that. But ideally, we would see a Guncon or the Justifier gun. Then we would sort of have some kind of visual hint of what gun we're using. And that might have helped some people realise that why the game wasn't working when they were holding the Guncon. So if I'm holding the zapper, I'd think, well, this isn't going to work with the PlayStation. This isn't a PlayStation gun, if you see where I'm coming from. But we don't blame the developer for that. It's awesome we can play the games at all, to be perfectly honest. But we understand why people got confused, that some games were working and then some weren't. So I thought I'd demo this off. My brother's a massive fan of anime. I got him into it when he was younger. So that woman's voice, I'm pretty sure I heard in Robotech, which was an anime back in the day. There's a very cool game of it on the GameCube. Jets that can change into robots, being piloted. Know it as Macross. So that's the reload. I'm going to point at the ceiling. The grenades would be the A button. Just wait for a good excuse to use it.
Watch out, civilians.
Yeah, so there we go, guys. My voice is getting a little bit dry, so I don't want to start coughing over you. So we'll just stop that. So I don't know that there's much else to cover, really. We did say you can move out the cable. I could put it into that Dreamcast there. Sadly, because the Dreamcast doesn't have a 3D model, it's treated as a cartridge when we know it should have discs. But that will come in time, guys. We have the VHS player. You can have movies playing. They show up on VHS tapes. Lots of cool stuff you can do. See, I've changed the wallpaper. Great wave of Kanagawa. Done the bed sheets to match. You can put posters up. I've changed the floor. Quite like this. Looks quite nice. So, yeah, really look forward to seeing what you guys do with your setup. So, look forward to seeing you on the Discord community. So, we'll leave it there, guys. Whatever you choose to do after watching this, I hope you have a great day. Have a great evening. And I'll see you all when I see you next. Ciao for now.